Welcome to Amusing Jews, where we celebrate Jewish contributors and contributions to American popular culture. I'm Jonathan Friedmann.
And I'm Joey Angelfield.
Producer-engineer Mike Tomren is working somewhere behind the scenes. Amusing Jews is a project of Adat Chaverim, Congregation for Humanistic Judaism, the Shul, Jewish Cultural Community, and Atheists United Studios. Hey, Joey. You've probably heard that in acting, it's easier to make someone cry than to make them laugh. Comedy, it turns out, is serious business. Some have even tried to distill comedy into a science, boiling it down to 5 elements: surprise, audacity, obsession, relief, and ego. I'm not sure if this taxonomical approach is valid or even appropriate for a genre that operates on a gut level. We know something's funny when we feel it, and we know it isn't funny when we don't. Jewish humor, as a subset of comedy, has a few distinguishing traits of its own, colored by the unique historical experiences of the Jewish people. It tends to be anti-authoritarian, has a critical edge, and mocks everyone and everything, including Jews and Judaism. A landmark example of Jewish comedy is the 1980 parody film Airplane. An older woman on the plane asks the flight attendant for some light reading, and she's handed a leaflet, a small piece of paper titled Famous Jewish Sports Legends. But of all the great scenes in Airplane, perhaps the most memorable features today's guest.
We're delighted to have with us Lorna Lembeck, née Patterson, an actress best known as flight attendant Randy in Airplane, her leading role on the early 80s sitcom Private Benjamin, and the voice of Dr. Susan Rand in the 1987 animated film Ultraman, The Adventure Begins. Lorna, welcome to Amusing Jews.
Well, hi.
So starting really broadly, Lorna, how did you get started in acting and specifically comedy?
I had a lot of trouble in school. I'm dyslexic, and it was the 1960s, so nobody helped me. And I couldn't really write or read very fast, but I could memorize. I still can. I have a crazy memory. So going into theater sort of made sense. I could learn things really fast and do it. And I also was born with really big ears, and they did surgery on me when I was 5, but they didn't do a good job. No one ever sees them. And my mother would slick my hair back in a ponytail, so proud that they were now standing up and out, and they called me Dumbo at school. So I had to learn in grammar school how to be funnier. I became funny out of a defense, really, and sort of the class clown. And since I was kind of failing anyway, I just went with it. So I was the star of all the plays, and everybody wanted to play with me, but I had a lot of trouble in school. And then the singing just sort of, cropped up, and that just made everything even better. So I once told a kid in 2nd grade, he called me Dumbo and told me I had big ears, and I told him, yeah, but I can hear around corners.
Nice.
And it scared him. And so I was like, this is working for me. I'm going to keep it. So that's sort of what happened.
Speaking of funny, the team of Abraham Zucker, essentially invented a genre of comedy. Maybe it's called literal comedy.
Yep.
Relying heavily on parody, visual gags, and breaking the fourth wall, all with a straight face. You were on the ground floor with Airplane. And when you were on the set of Airplane, I wonder if you knew that this was so unusual, or what kind of sort of a vibe there was on set. I'm sure they told you couldn't, break character even when you were doing ridiculous things.
Well, Jerry, David, and Jim, first of all, got credit to directing the movie. And that's weird to have 3 directors. On the set, it was only Jerry. And David and Jim were in a weird little trailer on the set. And remember, we were shooting this in the 70s, the end of the 70s. So things were different. So they had a video camera kind of taped, onto the real camera. And then they would talk to each other that way. Nobody in the movie, I don't think, really understood it, especially the older actors. You know, they didn't know it was Robert Stack. I think Robert Stack got it, but a lot of them they didn't really get the humor. They just did what they were told, and you know, we all put ourselves in their hands, and it was a really wonderful set. I made some really great friends. Nobody ever wanted to leave. Many of the actors came to work on days they weren't working because it was just such a nice place to be. And it was one of my first jobs. I was a baby. I was just a little kid. And it was a fantastic learning experience. We did things that we really didn't understand. And the movie, most of it is everything is in script. There's one thing that I was able to improvise. We were doing the last scene in the movie where everybody is escaping the plane and they're going down the things. So in the script, it's being shot MOS. MOS means without sound. That's a long story why, but that's a show business term, MOS. So I was up at the top of the thing, and there were lines in the script that said, "Be careful, let me help you, watch out," or whatever they were. But instead, I was saying, "Thank you for flying Transamerica. Please go." I was just like being really silly because there was no sound. So all the people that were going down the thing were laughing on their way down. Like I was making them laugh. And Jerry's like, "Don't laugh." As they all got down there, "Don't laugh. It's not, you're escaping the plane. Don't look serious. Don't laugh." And they all turned around and said, "Well, she's being funny. Tell her not to be funny." And then Jerry said, "Lorna, stop being funny. I've told you a million times." Anyway, but we ended up putting it in the movie.
That's a great scene because I think that's one of those that kind of signals to the audience that the people in the movie, you know, they don't think that all these things that are happening are funny. I mean, it's a kind of a serious movie.
Well, you know, it's exactly taken everything scene by scene from a movie, 0 Hour.
Yeah, from 1957.
Yeah,
right? And
it's that movie.
Which is really wacky. And our audience can search on YouTube. There's a comparison video that somebody made between the two. And it's really remarkable because of how seriously that movie takes itself and how really seriously Airplane takes itself, except like everyone's the straight man and the straight woman, and the script is the comic relief. It's kind of an interesting combination.
The guys knew what they were doing. They had done Kentucky Fried Theater for years. You know, that was a movie, but it was also a show you could go see. But honestly, I really don't think anybody in the cast really got it. And when we were done with it, we were all kind of like, whoa, you know, and it cost nothing, you know, the movie to make.
Yeah.
Like $1 million or something. But, you know, you can't do anything for that. And when it came out, and it was so well received, and then has become like iconic. It's always in the top 10 funniest movies ever. It's just a great gift. And it's just really fun to be part of that, you know, that culture. Sometimes I go with them and do talks and things like that. It's really fun. It's been wonderful. I feel really grateful that I got to be in that set. Yeah, it was great fun. And my grandson became a huge fan of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who with me. And so for Hanukkah, I got him, you know, I got a hold of Kareem and got him a picture. And it's a picture of me and a picture of Kareem together. And I signed it and Kareem signed it for him.
That's wonderful.
I was going to say, too, earlier when you were mentioning the scene of everybody coming down the slide, I'm wondering if that's a very rare direction or a very common direction to have the director yell at you and tell you to stop being funny. It seems like that might either be very common, like because they don't want you to ham it up, or maybe it's not something that you hear very often from a comedy director.
I think it came from Jerry, you know, with great love. I mean, we all loved each other. It was just, I mean, he was kidding when he said that. It was just funny. Then he said, you know, what are you saying? What are you doing? So no, we were just having fun. Yeah, and we had to work in really close quarters because it was really shot in an airplane on a set that they had cut, and they would move parts, and then they would, you know, when we were shooting in the fuselage, it was close quarters in there. It was really, really, really close. In fact, there's a scene where the plane is moving, and I put mashed potatoes in somebody's face.
Yeah.
And so I went over in there. We're directing the scene, whatever, and there was basically a consensus among the extras in the cast of the guy they didn't like, that they wanted, that they were mad at him for, I don't know, he took all the roles on the craft service set or something. So he's the guy that got the thing in his face like 5 times. And another thing that happened, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much, but when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar passes out, that I was supposed to pull him down the aisle. So nobody thought about it. It was just like, that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull him down the aisle. And he lays down, and I put my arms under him, and I mean, nothing. I can't move him at all, and he can't help with his feet. So really, really, really fast, they went out and created like a skateboard, like a big board with wheels, so that I could actually pull him down the aisle. I mean, it was a huge man, but all kinds of things like that. I got burned by the first duck. They had the gag. We only had 2. So it was like, this is it. You can't move. So the second time when it blows up, when you do those things, it's really, really cold, like cold to burning. And they didn't think to put something on me. I was wearing this little blouse. So the first time I did it was like, so the next time they had to do something like I don't know, like a padding in there or something, but then it was everybody was babies. We were all just, trying to make it work.
We love the movie Airplane. We actually just rewatched it a couple of days ago. I'm wondering if there's a story behind, how you got cast in it. I would love to have been in a movie like that. How did you get into it?
Well, it was just a regular audition. You're a young actor. I was in the Groundlings, and that's a lot of networking going on there. I don't even know if I had an agent yet. I may have. I'm not sure, because you can't always have an agent. And I went in just to read for a much smaller part, the girl that runs into the post when she's waving goodbye to her lover or whatever. So that was my reading, and they asked me to read for the other part while I was there. And I read for Randy, and I got the part. I got the part right away, like really fast. And then, you have to wait. And then I got called in to sing. So it was great. It was a great day. But Groundlings was a great place to work out. It was just like a gym for actors. And it was great. It was a great experience.
So kind of zeroing in on one of the more iconic scenes in the movie, right, is when you're playing the guitar and you're obliviously knocking the IV out of, the little girl's arm. We're guessing this is probably the scene that you're most known for. Do people still approach you about it?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a meme. People send me the meme all the time. Also, I'm a meme of pulling when the duck explodes on me when I do the emergency thing, all of that. I wasn't originally supposed to sing in the movie. I was cast as the stewardess, and I got a call to go over to the studio because, let's see, our movie was Paramount. The airport movies were Universal, and Universal got wind what they were doing, and they were going to have a singing nun, because there was a singing nun in their movies, and they said, we're going to sue you if you do it because you're making fun of us. So they called me and said, can you sing? And I said, I sing? Yes, I could sing. And I went down there, and again, it was 70s. I had a little cassette tape with accompaniment, and the guys, their office was hilarious. And I thought maybe they didn't have a cassette player, so we all went out to Jerry's Volvo, and I got in the back seat, and the 3 of them got in the front seat, and I auditioned in the back seat of Jerry Zucker's Volvo. And I got the job. And so I ended up also getting to do that great song. And that was, really fun. And Jonathan, the chords were wrong on purpose. I was supposed to look like I couldn't play.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Yeah, they asked me, don't play the real chords. Don't play it.
You gotta look like you're on TV.
Do you ever perform that song?
I have in the past. Yes. Well, hey, I have so many stories, so many people. When I was on Private Benjamin, I was invited to some celebrity thing, something. And Peter Yarrow was there, who wrote the song, Peter, Paul, and Mary. And he walked up to me with great intention. I had never met him until then. And he said, I used to be really mad at you, really mad. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he said, until I got the checks. I said, oh, great. So we sang that together. There was something happening that night. And he and we called Peter and not Mary. And we sang a lot of his songs, and we sang that song together. And it was really, really fun.
That's fantastic. Well, Joey and I were too young to know your work on Private Benjamin, because the show wasn't in reruns when we were kids.
They didn't make enough of them. There's 49, and you have to have 50 or 60 or something like that because of all the things that happened at the end. Eileen Brennan had a car accident, and we had to shut down, and then we tried to come back, and it just kind of fell.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because in the movie Private Benjamin, which is also kind of a classic that I haven't seen, I'll confess. Your character, Private Judy Benjamin, was played by Goldie Hawn and was presented as a Jewish American princess whose husband dies on their wedding night. She joins the army and gradually transforms into a self-aware, empowered woman. So I actually have two questions. One, what was it like to fill the army boots of Goldie Hawn? And the second, was your character presented as Jewish on TV?
No, we struggled. I struggled with it. No, I think they cast me. I mean, because I didn't look Jewish, and they didn't wanna or sound or do anything, or I wasn't Jewish at the time, actually, because they didn't want to talk about that. They just didn't want to talk about it, and I kept saying, "But she's Judy Benjamin. Look at the movie. Why?" They didn't. They just wanted me to be Lucy. They didn't. They didn't want to talk about it. They just didn't. I think now it would be fine and it would be great. But again, 80, 81, something like that. They just didn't want to talk about it. They cast my parents. The parents they cast wonderful, wonderful actors. I love them. But they were about as waspy as you could get when they came to visit. So that was the studio. That was the network. They wanted the character, but they left all the Jewish stuff behind.
And what was it like sort of stepping into a role that Goldie Hawn played?
It was terrible. It was terrible. The whole Private Benjamin thing was a thing. It wasn't great. I had done a movie with Tony Randall for the same studio called Sydney Shore, I think it was called. It was they used to do movie of the week. This was the movie of the week, and it was me and Tony Randall. I don't know. I was a runaway, and I stayed with him. I don't know. It was a very sweet movie, and they made it into a TV series called Love, Sydney. So I was they were trying to get me to do. I was, I don't know, on hold or something for Private Benjamin, and they decided to do the Sydney series, and I wanted to do that. I didn't want to do Private Benjamin. They wouldn't let me out. I'd already signed something, and so then it was terrible. I took the job, and we did it. We had fun. I had great people to work with, and it was fun. But I wish I had done the other series. That's the truth. That's the absolute truth. The great thing about Private Benjamin, only one costume. You just put on your green stuff, and you're done. No fluffing. Not a lot of fluffing. I love that. That was great. That was fun. It was fun. I did a lot of fun things.
So you were the voice of Dr. Susan Rand on Ultraman: The Adventure Begins.
Yeah.
The joint American-Japanese animated film from 1987. Actor Michael Lembeck voiced Scott Masterson in that movie. The two of you would later get married. Did you meet Michael while making Ultraman?
No, we were already together. We were very good friends. May he rest in peace. Our friend Gordon Hunt directed a lot of animation, and we actually did a lot of stuff. But that one, he called us in, and we were like, "Oh yeah, we'll go." I had these lines. I had to say things quick, and then a long list of things I didn't even know what they were, like, medications or something. They were all crazy. And it was really hard, but it was really fun. And then that turned into a thing too. Michael and I met in 1986, doing an off-Broadway show called Angry Housewives. That's fact. That's true. And I was the drummer in a band called Angry Housewives. And he was my boyfriend. And that's how we met.
That's a great band name.
At the end of the show, the band that got together, the Angry Housewives, they sing a song called Eat Your Cornflakes. And I'm the drummer in the middle. And at the end, it rose way up on, and I was on top of the big cornflakes box.
You mentioned already you came to Judaism as an adult. And a lot of Jews by choice say that the hardest part of the transition is not necessarily the rituals and holidays and that sort of thing, but getting accustomed to the cultural or the anthropological side of Judaism, the way Jews talk and eat and think about things. And I'm wondering if maybe this transition was a little bit easier for you because of your show business exposure to Jews.
When I decided to officially convert, I was already married to a Jew. I was married to Michael, who is very not religious, and he was a bagels and a cream cheese Jew, his family. So he didn't care if I converted or not. We had a civil ceremony. But before I met Michael, going back to grade school again, I had a very good friend in like third or fourth, fifth grade in Whittier, California, where I come from, where there are not a lot of Jews, at least in the 60s, when I'm talking, this is in the 1960s. But she was Jewish. And my parents both worked. And so her mother would carpool me. And so I would go to Hebrew school because she had to go to Hebrew school twice a week. So because I was with her, I would go to Hebrew school and I would be the little Goyim girl listening, at the door. And it was so fascinating to me. And I wanted to go in. And the clergy there were very nice to me, but they were very, I was definitely a stranger. And, I went to her bat mitzvah, and I went home and told my mother, I want to be Jewish. And she laughed, right? She laughed because she said, no, honey, you can't be Jewish. Just like you can't be something you're not. You can't be, tall, and you have to be born Jewish. So I was, what was I, a kid. So I said, okay. And I pushed it away, but it was always in there. It was always a part of me. I certainly loved going to my friend's house because it was loud, and I let her mom put a napkin on her head, and I didn't know what it was about. And the first time I ever went to temple with her, it was Purim, and the rabbi was dressed as a rabbit, and I was just like, "What the hell? This is fun."
Well, Lorna, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, wow. No. Okay. Yes. We're done.
And to our audience, now back to your regularly scheduled lives.
Amusing Jews is here to amuse you. If you like being amused, go ahead and click like and subscribe.